Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by these great sponsors. Axon started out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. Imagine having 100 years of tire and wheel knowledge in your back pocket the next time you sell a piece of ag equipment. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Valley Transportation. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. This podcast is also brought to you by Ag Direct. No matter how you buy your ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving Iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Markets with Chip Nellinger. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire. Has been helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or valleytransinc.com for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment, from a dealer, auction, or a private party, Ag Direct can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com. Chip Nellinger is with Blue Reef Agri-Marketing out of Morton, Illinois, and it's nice enough to come on once a week to talk about what's going on in the overall market. So, Chip,
hey, doing well, Casey. This thing's still a work in progress and very interesting. These markets just don't quit.
Yeah, they're. We've seen a lot of volatility this week. You know, just look at Monday, things were sharply down. Tuesday, they were sharply up, and they were sharply down yesterday, and we'll see, opening up down again today. So I guess as you take a look at kind of what you've seen so far this week, what's your thoughts thus far?
Yeah, the bean market's been such a straight up trajectory. It's overdue for a correction. We kind of saw that. Logical that it's right ahead of this USDA report that's coming out later this morning. And, now soy oil is back on a tear higher. Just like in the last 3-4 months, just everything you throw at these markets seems to be on the bullish side. You got this inflation picture underlying everything. This world vegetable oil situation is not great. Tight supplies, seems like it's getting tighter. That's got soy oil kind of leading us. Crude oil still sitting here $90-ish a barrel. This obviously the South American weather situation. And so end users, I think, including China, have really been caught flat-footed by this. And any break, like you saw yesterday, with beans at one point down 20, 21, 22 cents, it just doesn't hold. The end users rush in on every break and buy it because, they don't have enough coverage out there. And now, it's uncertain as to what the crop size is in South America. It's likely shrinking, not getting bigger. That's part of, what's kind of underlying this thing on this report today. It won't really be about the U.S. numbers. They're not going to change production. They might tweak demand a little bit, but the focus is on South America, how much the USDA is going to cut further. I think tomorrow morning we get CONAB estimates. So their own government organization is going to put out what they think the Brazilian crop size is. So a lot of moving parts in here, but the bottom line is we're still very much entrenched in a bull market. End users caught flat-footed. We've been selling a lot of beans here recently over the last few weeks to China for both old crop and new crop. That's not normal for this time of year with a normal big crop out of Brazil. And, the fact that they're coming to the market, especially for new crop this early, is, I think, indication that, we got some supply issues in the world. So it's very dynamic. And, I think what you saw yesterday was child's play compared to what we can expect going forward. Is going to be tremendous volatility. Every time we've been north of $14 beans in history, you typically have $1.50 to $2 breaks, oftentimes before you even see the ultimate high. So, 20-30 cent break off the highs is nothing. And I think you're going to see much more volatility ahead, and likely haven't seen the highest prices yet either. Haven't even talked about our growing season or acreage, Casey. So this thing is, it's going to be very uncertain for months to come.
Yeah, it's crazy for the markets to be this crazy before we've even put a seed in the ground yet. You haven't even, guys are still getting planters ready. So, I mean, it's shocking to see how much, but it just shows you how much is going on in the world. I mean, before we started recording here, you and I were talking about, Russia moving a few warships into the Black Sea. That's kind of a big deal, and that doesn't bode well for, easing tensions there between the Russia and Ukraine.
I know they continue to build troops there. It seemed like a week ago that the sentiment cooled a little bit, like, okay, it's Russia. The troops are in Russian territory. He can move his chess pieces wherever he wants. But this week, in my mind, it's taken on a little more escalation. The troop counts just continue to build. Now he's kind of doing some naval maneuvers. And, the wheat market is kind of the ugly stepchild right now of the grain markets. It's the short leg of spreads that feature long corn and long beans. But I'll tell you, the funds are short a fair amount of wheat. And if this thing escalates, you'll see an explosion in wheat prices immediately. So I, for one, wouldn't want to be short any wheat right now. But the wheat market's a little slow to respond to that. But that's just another uncertain factor in there. Throw in the Federal Reserve, who are supposed to raise interest rates next month in March. Will they, won't they? How much? What's their tone going to be going forward? The financial markets, and in particular, the Federal Reserve, is really going to add some volatility to our commodity markets as well.
Yep. Yeah, there was a report out that I was reading before we started recording here, and you take a look at what's going on there, and you're the phase one situation and all those kind of things that are happening there. That's another thing that China's done really well during this phase one thing, is just, we're not going to buy anything, we're done buying from you, and then all of a sudden the prices go down and they come back in and they buy the dips. Do you think that might be something that they're doing here with this phase one thing? I mean, obviously our relations with China right now are at all-time lows. So, I mean, obviously there's probably some of that there, but they're going to continue to buy whatever they can from wherever they can, except for the U.S., until they have to buy from us. So I guess, what's your thoughts on that whole phase one thing right now?
Well, I think that it was a one and done. I think there wouldn't have been a phase one deal,
right,
unless they acutely needed those products,
stuff.
And it was it was a win for them, because they were going to buy that stuff anyway. So why not get some political goodwill while they're at it? I'd be surprised if there's a phase two. Quite honestly, I don't think we're strong enough at this point to enforce that. And it's very clear, if you read between the lines, China's many years doing everything they can to secure raw materials and food and feed ingredients from everywhere other than the United States. We are the last resort. Up until a year ago, they took the bulk of their corn from Ukraine. They've put billions of dollars into the port system in Brazil. They essentially, bought the main shipping port in Sydney, Australia. They've purchased and gobbled up, millions of acres of the most productive part of Africa. They've gotten in bed with Putin in Russia. We're the last thing on the line, the last of the line for China. They may buy from us. They may continue buying from us, but it's only because they need it and they can't get it anywhere else. And they're fearful right now that Brazil has a shortfall of beans, so they're buying them from us because there's nowhere else in the world other than us to get the beans. And so, whatever works for best for them, they're going to do. and they're going to continue to do it. And the United States is going to be last on the line, and only if they need it. Well, I think that's something we're going to have to get used to. And it's all great right now. I've been telling people, and I'm not sure when. I'm not sure if it's 9 months from now, 18, 36. One of these years, we're going to have a back-to-back big production years out of both hemispheres in corn and beans. And we've got a problem then. We have a real problem. This thing will fall over the cliff, and it won't come back. Every break so far for 3 years has been bought and has rewarded people that don't sell. And that's going to continue for a little while here. The breaks will be bought. But one of these days, Casey, it's going to break. Everyone think, yeah, this time, just like all the other times, it'll come back, and it's not going to come back. And I don't think that's anytime soon. I just want to put a bug in everyone's ear that this thing will turn one day. Back-to-back drought in Brazil and Argentina, very minute possibility. That hasn't happened many times in history, and it's kind of saved us. It's bought us some more time. But one of these days, we're going to have big crops, and then South America is going to follow up with big crops, and then we're going to be swimming in grain.
Yep. All right. So let's take a look at what's going on over in the protein markets. Beef prices continue to slide, especially on the box beef side of the spectrum, and the hogs continue to have a bullish run. So I guess you take a look at those two spectrums. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, unbelievable on the hog side. Just continues to run. I mean, and kind of like you mentioned earlier. Typically we don't talk about massive bull markets in the grains and in January, February. Same thing in the hogs. This isn't typically the strongest period of the year for hogs, but man, are they on fire. And I think it just goes back kind of to the inflation thing. We had such a disruption during the heart of COVID, the lockdowns, and prices shot up, construction prices, all the input. We just didn't see the expansion that you normally would have seen with high prices in hogs. I think because of just didn't pencil out. It was too expensive. And so we're seeing the effects of that. Unbelievable. Scary thing is, what are we going to see in the summertime when the peak demand season is? Peak demand and the low point in supply. What is going to happen June, July, August? And these hogs, it's frightening. They're well over 100 now in the summer months. So crazy times there. I think cattle are pretty fairly priced in here. Even though box beef has slid, cash is steady to a touch higher last week. So packers are giving up a little bit of that margin. Finally, they're getting obviously some heat from being kind of anti-competitive and monopolistic, and so they're giving up some of the margin. They've got a lot to give up. A lot. Last I saw, it's estimated they're making $650 a head on cattle right now. So. I think cattle market's in good position. We're up here near highs. Probably could use a back off, much like we have seen in the bean market, the corn market. Just a little bit of a correction is healthy, but I think the whole protein complex, cattle, feeders, and hogs for sure, I think are in for some good times in here. Obviously, feed costs have increased, so that's a consideration and a concern, but I think right now ag looks pretty healthy for the time being. Whether that's row crop production or livestock production. Cow calf guy still is hurting, obviously with the drought situation, and that's not fixed itself very well in a lot of areas out west. So that's maybe the negative spot. Unfortunately, those guys have had a lot of pain here the last couple of years, and it looks to maybe continue into this spring too.
Yeah, that's a true point. There's plenty of drought out here where I'm at, and hopefully we get some of these late spring storms to bring in some snow and some moisture to get that taken care of. So, all right, Chip. So a lot of stuff going on right now. We just talked about what was happening over here in the markets with the hogs and the beef, and start talking about what we see happen with grain and all these different moving parts that are out there, what's some of the advice you're giving your customers right now as you talk to them about making that plan and what that looks like? I mean, you talk about input costs that are, double or triple what they were this time last year. I mean, if not even more than that. So, I mean, I guess what's some of that advice you're giving to some of your clients?
Well, it starts with knowing what your cost of production is, knowing your numbers, and which is easier said than done. A lot of people know it spot on. Some people, especially with higher input costs, they'll stick their head in their sand. I don't really want to crunch that number. That's a scary number. And it is. So know your costs, and then you can develop a plan, right? And what we're also telling people is, with this volatility that we expect, be prepared. It's a multi-step process. Be prepared to make some sales or some put strategies to lock a floor in above break even, and then use the volatility that we expect, these big swings, to position yourself so that you're right no matter what happens, right? You've got your profit margins locked in on the rallies. On the breaks, you're coming in, you're rolling puts down, or you're adding calls to sales, turn them into minimum price. And then it doesn't matter if beans go to $26 a bushel and corn to $12, or if we roll back over and go back to $4 corn and $10 beans. You're covered, and that takes 2 or 3 steps at times. So that's and it's hard to wrap your mind around. Get ready for sticker shock. Cost of options is high because we're at high levels. Cost of crop insurance is going to be really high because we're going to have one of the highest. Well, beans, we're likely going to be able to insure the highest revenue ever through crop insurance. Corn will be one of the top 3 or 4 that we've ever had, and so that means crop insurance is going to be more expensive. So it's hard to wrap your mind around, but a plan is going to help keep you from kind of just being handcuffed from saying, what do I do now? And sometimes when that happens, you stick your head in the sand and do nothing, and oftentimes that's the wrong thing.
Yeah, absolutely, Chip. Those are good points, because I mean, like you said, knowing where you're at, you have to know where you're at to start, and that's the key point to that. So if folks want to reach out to you and get more information about what you're doing at Blue Reef, what's the best way to do that?
The best way is just call us at the office, 309-550-7213. That's our main office number in Morton, and we'd love to chat with you. No pressure. Just if you're interested in a second set of eyes and ears on what you're doing and how you might be able to improve it, just reach out, give us a call.
Right on. Well, Chip, appreciate you being on the podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Casey. It's always fun, and this thing's going to continue to be really interesting for a few months at a minimum.
That is for sure. All right, I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you find the latest editions of the Moving Iron Podcast. Also go to Moving Iron LLC for everything Moving Iron related, and all the information about the Moving Iron Summit coming up in Nashville, Tennessee, September 6th, 7th, and 8th at the Hilton Hotel downtown. All the information is up on the internet, on the website, on the internet. Check that out. When you're on there, you just go over to the Moving Iron Summit page, and all the information is there about how to register and those kind of things. So if you're interested in doing that or need more information, send me an email at MovingIronPodcast and MovingIronPodcast.com, and I will be sure to get back to you. So with that, I am Casey Seymour with Chip Nellinger. Let's go with some iron, folks. Out. Axon Tire is going to have more tips, tricks, and client advice throughout the year, and in September at the Moving Iron Summit in Nashville. If you're looking to sign up for the event, please head over to MovingIronLLC.com. We hope to see you there. Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 or go to valleytransitinc.com for all of your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours. And no matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or a private party, AgDirect can help you finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century.